Welcome to the video. Today we're going to talk about Vinted. There are a lot of scams on Vinted. People list stuff that they don't actually have, like iPhones, PlayStations, etc. Ship you a brick in the post and hope that you don't raise an issue in 48 hours of delivery, because that then means they get a lot of money. There's other scams as well. I've had it before where stuff has been sent to a buyer, they claim never to receive it, and have then been refunded by Vinted, even though the tracking shows it's been received. Um, I've been refunded too, but it's a bit wild west on Vinted. But so far, my experiences have been largely positive on Vinted. I've had a couple of issues with them, but by and large, as a buyer and seller, it's been okay. I sell on Vinted every day, multiple items a day normally, and very rarely do I have any issues or problems with buyers. Usually the problems I have is that the courier has relabeled an item. This happens a lot with InPost. Relabeled an item and the buyer has received something completely different to what they ordered, but it's all always been sorted out. However, yesterday I had a buyer contact me. Actually, it wasn't yesterday, the day before yesterday, I had a buyer contact me, I think, to say that they'd received a box I'd sent them with no item inside, and that the box had actually been sliced open, which had meant that the contents was no longer inside it, because if the box has got sliced open, something's going to fall out of it. Gravity exists. I wasn't too worried about this because I know that both me and the buyer have protection from Vinted. If something is delivered is broken in transit, that's why I use Vinted shipping. That's why there's a buyer protection to cover the buyer. So I contacted Vinted support to say there's been an issue. The buyer's raised a dispute. They've not had the item. The box has been opened and the contents are no longer in it. I assumed, therefore, that Vinted would refund me and refund the buyer for the issue, because, well, either it's an issue that's been caused by the courier, or it's a bit of a naughty buyer who has claimed to receive the item and they actually have. I should say I don't think it is a naughty buyer in this instance, because I had a conversation with the buyer and he seemed completely legitimate in everything he was saying. So yeah, contacted Vinted. Now, Vinted has quite specific requirements on how items are packaged. So it's worth reading their guidance on it, because their package requirements when shipping with their integrated characters: you have to use sturdy outer packaging such as a cardboard box, appropriate for the item's size. The box should protect the item from dirt and moisture during transit. If the item is heavy, we recommend using 2 or 3 layers of cardboard boxes. Alternatively, when available, you can use carrier provided packaging such as padded, waterproof envelopes or bags. And it also says you should use appropriate material for inner packaging to prevent items from touching the outer packaging and moving around, fill the empty space. You can use bubble wrap, foam, paper, newspaper, or corrugated material. Not packing peanuts, oddly. And then you've got to properly attach the label on the parcel by sticking it flat. If you're sending something fragile, make sure that it's marked with a special label to mark it fragile, and don't use paper or plastic bags to ship stuff in. Now, everything I ship on Vinted is therefore shipped in a cardboard box. It's bubble wrapped, it's foil filled, it's properly done within Vinted's criteria, because I don't want any issues. I don't want Vinted saying they can turn around and not pay me if something gets damaged when it's been sent out. So I always do that and make sure that it's properly done. Buyer raised their dispute. On some of it, we need to wait for the buyer to supply some photos. So the buyer sent some pictures of the box, showed it was all properly labelled, a bit of bubble wrap, etc. there, but obviously no contents, and said that the box had been opened and that they'd received an open box without the contents. So I thought, fair enough. I'll wait for Vinted to get back to me to sort this out. I then had a message from Vinted saying, hello, Actually, no, sorry, that's not right. Yeah, hello there. Thank you for your message. I'm sorry to hear the parcel you sent arrived damaged. After analysing the photos provided by the buyer, we've concluded the item was not packaged properly. Since it was damaged due to poor packaging, we were obliged to cancel the transaction and refund the buyer. We are also not able to compensate you. We advise the buyer to return the item back to you, however, please bear in mind that they are not obliged to do so. To avoid similar situations in the future, please read our tips and suggestions for packaging with a link to the packaging that I've just read you. So I replied to that, say it was packaged properly. You can see from the photos that the buyer has supplied that the item was packaged properly. The issue is that the package was opened and the contents removed. Therefore, the buyer did not receive the item, and I should be entitled to compensation as per your policy, which I've just read on the guidance. Thanks for your message. I know this may be not the response that you would not be the response you were hoping for. I've reviewed all previous information we've shared regarding the situation, and after carefully considering all available options, this remains the only outcome we can offer. With this, we'll be closing the case. If you have a different need or require further assistance, please feel free to open a new inquiry as we handle one issue per message request. Thank you for your understanding and have a great day. So I replied to say, I'm sorry, but this is incorrect. Can you please advise how it was packaged incorrectly when it's packaged exactly as per your guidance and you've seen photographic proof of that? And can you also explain how they're able to return something to me that they never have had and how that item is damaged when they haven't actually had it in the first place? And I got a reply to say, hello, thank you for your reply. I would like to emphasize that I fully understand your dissatisfaction, but I do ask you to understand that we are obliged to follow our processes in such cases. On my behalf, if I had the opportunity to help you deal with the situation differently, I would never have hesitated to do so. I hope this will be the last incident you encounter on our platform when I stay. So they're not even answering any of the questions that I've asked. So the reply say, your response doesn't actually answer any of the points I've raised. Can you please address the points that I've raised? Because I have shipped the item properly, and I've had a reply that doesn't actually seem to indicate that. Thank you for your reply. I'm sorry you're having this problem. I wish I could do more to help. However, we've follow our processes. Thank you for your understanding. And then that was it. I blocked from the conversation and couldn't do any more on it. So that was it. I was down this item. It wasn't a massive sale. It was only a few pounds, but it was really annoying me that everything in Vintage guidance is saying that as long as you package the item properly, you send it. If there's an issue with the delivery, we will cover it for you. So I wasn't going to take this lot lying down. So I took all the screenshots, copied it all into an email, and sent a message to Vinted's legal team, which is legal@vinted.co.uk. And I said, look, I've sent out an item. It's packaged exactly as per your guidance. Here's the photos that show how it was packaged. Here's the photos that show what the buyer received. Here's the message from the buyer that says that they did not receive the item and that the box had been opened somehow, and that's why they didn't receive the item. And then finally, I've had this response from Vintage legal team, a lady called Mary there. Thank you for your patience. After analysing your case, we have confirmed that the item got lost because the parcel was damaged in transit. Okay. Having said this, the order will be cancelled and the buyer will receive a full refund. Already done that. As for you, do not hesitate to check your Vinted wallet. There you will see the full compensation for the missing item. So finally, they have compensated me for the loss. That took a lot of effort and far more effort than it ever should have done. I've got to be honest, I was having doubts about using Vinted going forward, and certainly for anything high value, because it was feeling to me like actually Vinted are not going to cover you as a seller if you have an issue, even though it clearly says in their processes and guidance that they will cover you if there's an issue that's encountered when using their courier. They just weren't, for whatever reason, doing it. But in the end, we managed to get it sorted out. They did refund me, but it required a lot of effort. So we'll stick with Vinted. But what have I learned from it? I've learned not to give up. I've learned to use all the available opportunities to speak to somebody at Vinted to get an issue sorted out if it occurs, to hold my ground, and to have that knowledge myself of what their guidance says. So if you are selling on Vinted yourself, please do make sure that you're aware of what their packaging instructions are, what their guidance says. Make sure that you've got some kind of evidence when you send out stuff of how it's been packaged, so you can show that it was professionally done in the proper way, so that you actually get the money back. And if they still refuse to do that, then email in and make sure that your case gets looked at by somebody who's got the expertise necessary to look at what the issues are that you're talking about. Give them all the evidence, be very clear about what it is you need sorting out, what resolution you expect to get from them, and in the end, you should get a positive result. But a lot of effort, I've got to be honest, on Depop, eBay, when I sell on those, I have some issues. I don't have that kind of fight at all. But there you go. Anyway, we've got it. We've got through it. If you've been scammed on Vinted yourself, feel free to share your experiences in the comments below. If you've had any sort of similar experiences with Vinted support where cases haven't gone your way, even though everything says they should do, let me know, and let me know how you've managed to get that resolved, if indeed you have managed to get it sorted in the end. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.